What's up, guys? Here's how it is. And first things first, if this is second part of a video tutorial. So if you haven't watched the first one, you have the link on top right of your screen. First watch that and then come to this, because this tutorial is basically for the beginners, to give them a detailed explanation. So okay, let's start now. Let's talk about background cover. So what cover tells the browser is to make sure that the image always covers the entire container, even if it has to stretch the image. And what background position center does is, like, let's say this is the center. So now let's say I remove this and I write right. So nothing happens, because the dimension of this image is 1920 by 1080, so it perfectly fits the screen. But if uh, if your image so it's even if I don't write this, it's okay. But if you use an image and the dimensions are different, then it becomes a mandatory step for you guys. So now let's talk about cursor pointer. So what cursor pointer does is, like, let's say we have a logo, and if we hover over it, it changes, like it points. So that's what cursor pointer does. Now let's talk about the width. Okay, so why did I not use 100% instead, or I used 85? So let's check. Okay, so as you can see, the logo and the login button, the button, you can see it is now moved behind the sidebar, and we don't want that to happen. So that's why we write 85%. Now look at margin auto. So what it does is, just observe the logo. It adds a margin gap between the logo and the starting point. So now let's talk about justify content space between. So let's just remove this. Okay, and let's now look at the gap. Okay, let's refresh this. So as you can see, there is no gap. So what it does is, it provides a gap between the logo and the button. So uh, now let's talk about the text shadow. The 5, it specifies the horizontal distance. The 2, it specifies the vertical distance, and the 5 again, it specifies the blur radius, and the 000 is black. Let's check, and it is there. It's not visible, trust me, but it is there. um, Now let's talk about the content. So we have top as 50%, and you guys might be wondering, like, what is transform translate y. So let's have a look. So what top 50% does, it occupies the 50% gap from top, and the middle of a becomes the center. So let's just remove this so that you guys may get an idea, like, what is exactly happening. So just observe this point. Okay, so the welcome word, it now this becomes the center and not the middle of a. But we don't want that the welcome word to be the center. We want the middle of the content to be the center. So that is why we write transform translate y. So what it does is, the minus 50%, it occupies the space from bottom, like it occupies the bottom 50% space. So the middle of a becomes the center. Oops, I forgot to save, I guess. Okay, so yeah, okay, so if we add that, the content, the middle of the content becomes the center. So now you guys might be wondering, like, why is a dot absent before h1? So let me tell you guys that the others, they are the class, and h1, it is a tag. As you can see, the content, it is a class, so that's why we write dot. As you can see, the content is a class. And now the button, it is a tag. So that's why we don't add a dot before button, because it is a tag. Now um, let's talk about the sidebar. Now we added to, there are two colors because it is, we are giving it a gradient effect. That's why we are adding two colors. So now um, let's let's talk about the bubbles. So what is the meaning of the linear term? What is that linear doing? So it provides a constant velocity to the bubbles. So if we remove linear, let's see what happens. Okay, so the bubbles now, they're catching pace at the beginning and later they slow down. So you can use this as an effect as well. It depends on you. Now let's talk about infinite. Let's first remove. Oh, oops. Um, let's remove this and see what happens. So just observe. Okay. and and it's over. So what happens, it only repeats once, so that's why we add infinite to give the effect, the continuous effect. Now let's talk about space around. So what space around does is, the bubbles are evenly distributed in a line with equal space around them, like equal space around each and every bubble, so that the bubble and the sidebar, they don't overlap. So now let's talk about the index, the z index. So let's first remove this. Oh, what the hell. um, okay, so let's first remove this and see what happens. So observe carefully. Okay, the bubbles, they are going from above the text. Okay, so we don't want that to happen, so that's why we write z index, so that it so basically consider it like it elevates the text so that the bubbles can go from beneath them. Now observe, the bubbles are going from under that text, so that's what z index does. So now let's talk about keyframes. Note that the keyframes are the only reason we are getting that animation effect. So there's a reason behind adding 0, 50, 70, 100 and the opacity 1. The 1 means the bubbles are visible, and if we write 0, that means the bubbles won't be visible. So let's change this to 0 and let's just observe. The bubbles, they are not they are present but they are not visible, so that's because we changed the opacity from 1 to 0. So from 0 to 50 the bubbles are not visible, but as soon as the 50 mark, they cross the 50 marks, they are again visible, but again after 70 they become invisible. So that is what is exactly happening. So let's talk about the minus 80 view height. So the bubbles, they fade out at this minus 80 point. They are not traveling the 100% distance. So that's why that's what the minus 80 view height is doing. Now let's come to the nth child, the final part. Now what nth child does is, it gives you the control over each and every bubble individually. So you can control each and every bubble. We have 7 bubbles, so using the nth child method, you can change size of each and every bubble like as you want. You can give a time delay to each and every bubble as you want. So this is exactly what is happening in nth child. So basically, in short, you get access to each and every bubble and you can do whatever you want. So that's it, guys. And yes, there are some color codes that you should keep in mind, like 000 stands for black, and just keep a few color codes, like learn them or whatever, it's up to you. And the view height, it's basically the entire height of the page. And that's it, guys. I hope you liked this video, and I hope I was able, like, I hope this video helped you guys in at least some way. And if you like this video, just give it a thumbs up. um, Tell me what are your views in the comment section, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Thank you. Thanks a lot.